Hey guys, I am super excited for today's podcast episode because we are going to be diving all in on one of my favorite topics, and that is self-sabotage and how that relates to our health, our fitness journey, our goals, right? It's like, why do we find ourselves in situations sometimes where we say that we want something for ourselves? We say that something is important, yet our actions seem to just not align with that, or we struggle to stay consistent, or we feel like we lack discipline. And it's kind of like this big question mark where you just start to question your own capabilities. And, maybe it's really just like a real good look at yourself and an evaluation on like what truly is important to you versus what you say you think is important to you, right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to do what we want and what is important to us as humans. And sometimes the things that we say that we want sound nice in our heads, but we're not actually willing to sacrifice some things in order to achieve that. So I see a lot of women, self-sabotaging in their health and fitness journeys. When I say health and fitness journey, this is going to be a journey of really, wanting to lose body fat, maybe lose weight, build muscle, get toned, but make it a lifestyle. Not it be some start and stop thing, not this be like a yo-yo diet cycle anymore where we're on track and, quote unquote dieting and then losing the weight and gaining it all back. It's like, no, we're breaking out of those cycles and we're actually on a journey of making it our lifestyle in a way that is sustainable. And that's what we do at Embody Her. That is the step-by-step process that we take women from all levels through in order to lose the body fat that they want, gain the muscle, become their own body goals, gain confidence, feel good in their body, right? But in a sustainable way where they have built the skills over time needed to maintain it long-term, right? And self-sabotage is 100% something that comes up in everybody's journey, including mine. I remember I used to be like, why do I just keep not doing the things I need to do? And I would just get so frustrated at myself. And so I used to be one of them. And so self-sabotage is when we basically get in our own way, right? Our actions are not aligning with what we say that we want so bad. Right? So maybe this is losing a certain amount of weight or body fat. Maybe it's building your glutes and getting stronger and becoming a gym girly, right? And like overcoming your gym anxiety. Maybe this is setting more boundaries in your life and making yourself a priority instead of abandoning yourself and giving to everybody else and work and everybody else, but then you're left with crumbs and you're like low-key okay with that. But it's also not leaving you in a fulfilled position. Whatever your individual situation is, it can be frustrating. It can be really frustrating when we're continuously saying to ourselves and others that we want to reach this goal, and yet our actions are not aligning with that. It makes us feel like there's something wrong with us. And so if it holds us back, then why do we do it? Like, why do we do it? Psychologically, self-sabotage really comes up in the form of resistance. Okay, and resistance is literally this it literally feels like a block. It's a block. Like it literally feels like a block. You may be aware of it. There's, conscious forms of self-sabotage, and then there's unconscious forms of self-sabotage. Okay. And the more you can tap into your inner world and really lean into that, the more awareness you can create around what's going on inside of you. And then you can be like, okay, this is where I'm self-sabotaging. But essentially the definition of self-sabotage is when people do or don't do things that block their success or prevent them from accomplishing their goals. It can happen consciously or unconsciously. Self-sabotaging behaviors can affect our personal and professional success as well as our mental health. Oof. And there's so many different types of self-sabotage. There's procrastination. There's, putting things off to the last minute and then getting overwhelmed. There's just not using your time wisely, right? And then saying that you're busy and saying that your schedule is crazy when really there was multiple times throughout the day where you're like scrolling on your phone or you're on TikTok or you're responding to messages. And it's like, you're probably just not managing your energy correctly, right? Like your cup isn't full, so then you feel even more tired on top of like a busy schedule. But there's so many different forms of self-sabotage. Avoiding situations is a form of self-sabotage because in the moment, and that's procrastination. So perfectionism, right? Like needing things to be perfect, always feeling like you have to be perfect in all situations, feeling like this huge pressure in your chest that if you're not perfect, that you're just going to feel so guilty and so ashamed, and you would rather just give up so you don't feel those negative feelings. And if you don't have those negative feelings, then well, you won't grow, but at least you don't feel them, right? And so self-sabotage really is like it's a natural form of like coping with uncomfortable feelings. Okay, and that's what creates this resistance. So going back to resistance, what I was kind of talking about, resistance is really like, it literally feels like a block, like I was saying. So let me try to really, it's kind of like, the best way I can explain resistance, it's kind of like our body going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. You know, when you're just like frozen by paralysis by analysis, or you're just falling into this hole of escapism and procrastination and avoidance, right? It's like a coping mechanism, right? And the resistance is basically our resistance to our own success and well-being. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, if we really dissect self-sabotage and our nervous system, right? Because when it comes to our central nervous system, we have, yes, I'm going to get a little nerdy on y'all, but I promise I have a point. You have your sympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of our fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn mechanisms in order to protect us from danger, uncomfortable feelings, okay? Uncertainty, the unknown. And then you have your parasympathetic nervous system, which kind of rules like that rest and digest portion of the nervous system. And it can be activated through lowering stress levels, breathing deeply, taking care of your health, having a period of time where you're just allow yourself to do nothing, right? Little things like that. And so when we are in this pursuit of like losing weight or going into this new journey or learning how to track macros or going to the gym, it's something that we desire consciously, but there is something within us that is blocking us. Okay? And so in my experience, obviously some of that resistance can come up just through straight up fear, self-judgment, overthinking situations, right? Just like creating this illusion of fear, because fear is an illusion, right? Like it's created when it's created in our minds, right? It's created in our minds as a form to protect ourselves, but it actually doesn't protect us. So when we can become aware of it, we can change, work toward it. So in my experience, obviously fear aside, and like fear of failure and fear of looking stupid and fear of what people will say, that obviously are some fears. But in my experience, it can also show up as like the fear of success, right? Like this fear of like tapping into your own true power. It can also be the combination of like this deep unconscious feeling of unworthiness or undeservingness of the goal, or the happy feelings that might even come with it because we've been so used to living a certain way for so long, right? It's almost like this lack of belief or worthiness or enoughness can come up for us in our journeys and kind of test us, right? Like I remember when I was starting my health and fitness journey and I was learning about my macros and I was getting to the gym and I was learning how to lift, and that whole just beginning part of my journey, when I was transitioning from like cardio bunny and like chicken and veggies and yo-yo dieting, I would make progress physically, and then I would just always hit this point where I would self-sabotage and like reverse my progress or do something that would literally keep me stuck. it was like, okay, yeah, half of me was comfortable with the progress that I've made, but the other half of me obviously still wanted to make more progress. But it was like I hadn't made this much progress in so long that I was kind of satisfied, but then also not, like, I still wanted to progress and show myself what I'm made of, but I was just getting in my own way. And over time, like as I was building my intuition and connecting with my intuition, our intuition kind of speaks in like whispers, right? And I just felt this whisper of like, you know, what about the goodness of this next goal? Like I felt like there was a part of me that was like resisting the goodness of it. Like I truly couldn't believe that I could actually achieve it. So I would self-sabotage unconsciously to confirm that belief system. Like I had made so much progress already, like that I never made before and been able to maintain it. So I was just kind of like, like very little progress, guys, like nothing crazy. But I was just like, can I like keep going? Like I've never been able to be this consistent. Like these are unconscious thoughts that are going on within me that I wasn't conscious about until I started to practice meditation and I started to journal consistently. Like that's really when I could understand myself deeper and get to the root of things. And now it's a part of my daily routine and we help our clients with that. But essentially, guys, there is a negative benefit that comes with self-sabotage. It's that it keeps us safe. It keeps us comfortable, even if within that safety, there's misery or mediocrity. And this isn't always the case. Like take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Because there's some people who they can just, that might not come up, right? But in order for us to stop self-sabotaging in our journeys, and in order to feel safe with success or to feel worthy of our desires and goals enough where we believe it and we can actually make the sacrifices needed, there's a couple of things we need to do. First, you need to get really, really fucking clear with yourself on if this is truly as important to you as you say it is. Because I talk to women every day. I have my own clients as well. And there will be things that come up, like maybe they're in their calorie deficit and, maybe they're in the reverse diet and, these feelings are coming up for them of just like, it just doesn't feel as important. Like I'm kind of just like, well, if I want this, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And if I want to skip my workout, I'm going to do that. And it's like, we're applying grace, but it's like too much grace where like you were kind of just not, and sometimes we need those breaks, but like there's this disconnect between what we say we want and our actions, right? And so if our actions are not aligning with what we say we want, we need to get clear on like, is what we say we want actually what we want? Or does it sound better in our heads? Now, if you know something in your core that it is what you desire, and you have already taken breaks and things like that, then it's time to release what is no longer for you. You can't do both. Like you can do both, but I truly believe, and you guys know I'm all about balance and sustainability. And I'm not even just talking about like weight loss. I'm talking about life in general, building a business, like, growing a family, like whatever your goal is. Sometimes it requires us to make sacrifices. And sometimes balance isn't the number one priority. And sometimes we spread balance too, far. And then we find ourselves in this yo-yo cycle and not really maintaining core habits or lifestyles or structures. Trust me, I've been there. Like I've literally been there. Okay. So the point that I'm getting to is that if what you say is what you desire, then it's time to release what's no longer working for you. This means stories that you're telling yourself. This means negative thoughts, feeling bad for yourself, feeling sorry for yourself. That's got to go. It doesn't matter. You say this is what you want. We know what aligned action to take. If you don't know what aligned action to take and you aren't sure, hit me up. Like I can point you in the right direction. I'm not really one of those coaches that is going to be like, oh, I charge for that. Like obviously when it comes to coming up with your macros and things like that, I need more information and I take a full week with clients to identify their true maintenance. So it's obviously not something I can do in the DMs, but like, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, like I only can tell my clients, like, nah, I'm here to help. And if you want to fucking do coaching, cool. But like my DMs are open. Okay. So, but anyway, we got to release what it's no longer for us. Maybe this means for you quick fixes. Maybe this means a shitty wind down routine and wake up routine, going on your phone first thing in the morning, staying up really late. And then, like if you say that you want to be a morning person so you can get the gym out of the way because that's the only way you can go, but then you keep staying up late, it's like, okay, there's a part of you that still wants to stay up late. And then there's a part of you that wants to wake up early. So what matters more and what do we need to sacrifice? Like sometimes we just got to go in there and just like clink, 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 like just set these boundaries with ourselves and not waver. And sometimes we will waver because sometimes we need to kind of oscillate and go back and forth to really, really come to the core of like what we know to be important for us. Right? Maybe this is drinking multiple times a week. If you feel like alcohol or drinking, even if it's like just 2-3 drinks, is holding you back significantly, it's throwing you off of your health and fitness game. It's throwing you off of like your energy levels. You feel more lazy, unmotivated, like not really aligned, with your goals as more. You're not as goal oriented or motivated, which is fine. You don't have to be like that all the time, but that's usually due to just kind of like shitty gut health from drinking, whatever. I've been there and I'm going through that right now. And maybe it's drinking, right? Maybe it's staying in a relationship that's holding you back. Like whatever it is, we got to just start cutting shit off the motherfucking like clip, 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 clip. That is the type of coach that I am, honestly. Me and Coach K, we're very like graceful and compassionate and hold space for you to understand that this is a space for you to be impatient and grow. But also, if it is our number one goal as your coach to help you achieve the goals that you hired us for and that you fucking came here for. So if what you say is what you want is still what you want, then there needs to be some just looking in the mirror and having deep conversations on like, where are we trying to have our cake and eat it too type of thing. And it doesn't need to be extremes, but it's like little things. Like I've been opting in for mocktails. I've been really challenging myself to like not drink just because everybody else is and just because like it's weird not to. Like I have kind of just wavered over those boundaries so much now that I'm like every single time I like just do drink just to drink because other people, and I'm just like, okay, fine. Like, okay, fuck it. Like I'll just have a drink. It never really serves me. I could do a whole podcast episode on that because I'll keep you guys updated. I'm not the one to try to talk about what I'm going to do because it usually doesn't happen if I talk about it, but you stay tuned. I've been sober curious for a minute, so I will keep you guys updated on that. But drinking is a big one I see. And I feel like a lot of people, like, you don't have to cut it out altogether, but like, it has to be from an empowered place. So going back to self-sabotage, if you guys are thinking like, okay, well, how can I overcome it now? Like you've talked to me about like what it is, how it shows up. I resonate, but like, how can I actually overcome it? This is why I'm going to go into how we can overcome it in just a second. But I also want to talk about why it's so hard, because I think in order for us to understand how we can overcome it, we have to also understand why it can be hard sometimes. Because if we can understand why it can be hard, then we know how to navigate it when it comes up. So, in my experience, it can feel hard sometimes because in order to peel back the inauthentic layer of self, the part of ourselves that we don't really align with anymore, but like we still get, some just like instant gratification from, or however it shows up. In order to like let go of this, we have to be willing to grieve what once was, like grieving that part of our life, grieving old habits. That might sound weird to, somebody who's not really, I know my language can be kind of like literature-y. I don't know if that's the word, but what I'm trying to say is that it can be hard to let go. It can be hard to let go because it's all we've ever known sometimes. And Sometimes it also means going against what is the norm, especially in our health and fitness journey. Like you're gonna get more, you're putting yourself out there basically when you try to become more healthier. Unfortunately, like it just is the way that it is. You're gonna get comments from people. People are gonna question you. People are gonna be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Or, you don't have to do that. It's so much noise, and you gotta get really fucking good at cutting out the noise, cutting it out, staying in your lane, staying focused. Because when you take this journey of developing yourself, transforming yourself, changing means change, which means, yeah, oh my God, this is what I want. But also, it's not just always rainbows and butterflies all the time. There's going to be like literally identity crises that are going to be happening. There might be loss of friendships. There might be, just change, and like that can be scary sometimes. Sometimes we can even feel like this judgment from other people when we come to better ourselves, because when you try to better yourself, sometimes you are triggering other people. And triggering is good. I'm really not against triggering people if it's coming from a good intentional place, because if you feel triggered about something, that is actually a sign, like, for you to, like, it resonates with you in some way and you're getting like offended about it. And you only really get offended about shit that you believe to be true, right? So it's kind of like looking at yourself. But going back to what I was saying, you can trigger people when you try to eat healthy, and you're like, oh no, I'm good, like I don't want ice cream. Like, you can have the ice cream, girl. Y'all know I'm about flexible nutrition, but like, I mean, if like sometimes you literally just don't want it, but it's weird to opt out of it. Like, people think you're like on a diet. People think that you're like trying to lose weight all the time. And I'm like, no, I dead ass, like, I'm good. Like, I'm actually good. Like, same thing with alcohol. Like, if I don't want any, there's nothing wrong with me. I promise. I'm just good. Like, I'm actually good. And that doesn't really click in people's brains, or people seeing you weigh your food or whatever. It's like, no, actually it looks like I'm restricting, but actually I'm actually eating enough, and I'm aware. And people won't really get it. They don't have to fucking get it. They really don't. But it's our natural desire to like not, ruffle feathers and just stay, like everybody else. It's part of our biology. But what's great is that once we do stick through it and make it to the other side, what is meant to be is so renewed. And there can be this ripple effect, right? Like, I know that when one client starts working on themselves, and starts getting results and seeing their lives change, other people around them are going to be like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And it's from a healthy place, right? And it causes this ripple effect. And then there's going to be other people that are like, who does she think she is? Like, she thinks she's better than me or better than us or whatever. And it's like, or maybe even your partner might be like that. Like, if you know what I'm saying? Let me just keep it moving. But, there's some, partners out there, they don't really want their partner to shine too bright or to transform, because then they know that they will be better than them and find out that they're not actually what they want. Just take notes of that, just take notes of that hip. Just saying. But anyway, guys, we have to be willing to let go and make sacrifices sometimes, especially to level up, right? Like, you can get to that next, area of balance after you reach these goals. But like right now, we're trying to level up. We're trying to transform. We're trying to heal. Okay. And some of you guys might be in the period of life and life phase where you are really focused on just being very relaxed and go with the flow and winging it. And that's fine. I still believe you should have some type of structure, routine. Just from my own experience, that can really turn into just like, wait, I feel like shit really quickly. But, you can still have a little bit of both, but you have to come to it. There has to be a real conversation with yourself where it's like, okay, I got to lay it all out. I got to lay out all my cards. When I think about my life and I take inventory of my habits, when I take inventory of how I'm using my time, when I take inventory of like my coping mechanisms, what am I aware of? How am I aware that I'm self-sabotaging? Okay, procrastinate. You do this, I do that, I do that. Okay, how is this benefiting me? Because there is a negative benefit. It keeps me comfortable. It, eases my boredom, instant gratification, whatever is coming up for you. Take inventory of it. Be compassionate with yourself, guys. When we want to overcome self-sabotage, it's super important to approach this from a place of compassion and gentleness with yourself, right? Our inner child represents our emotions. So imagine your inner child is coming through and you're just beating them up. Like, oh, well, you should have done this and that. That doesn't help, right? It's like, okay, like I'm seeing this about myself. I'm seeing this about my patterns. And like, it's okay. Like, I see how it is helping soothe me in some ways, but also I understand that these things need to change in order for me to get to where it is that I want to be. If you need the extra accountability, if you need the support, I would love to help you with that. Obviously, like, I know the main concern that comes to people's mind is like finances or time, but like, even if we can just point you in the right direction, send you to another podcast episode or something, like, that is going to help you make the change that you want, right? So, just don't be afraid to ask for help, to lean into support. A lot of us have like this deep desire to be led and supported, but then we tell ourselves, oh, I could just try on my own, or I don't really need this, or which is literally against our nature as humans. Humans need other humans. We're tribal by nature, even if we're introverted or lone wolves. Depending on like our upbringing, right? You might not trust people easily and all of that, but that doesn't change the fact that humans need other humans and like connection and support. And so, I mean, I'm just going to say it. Fuck it. Like, Embody Her really is the best community for women who are trying to better themselves, change, grow, reach their dream body goals. Like, your body, at its healthiest, happiest, most confident self, not anybody else's. And in a way that's sustainable and builds the skills that you need. Because at the end of the day, girl, you could do all the little diets all you want, do these little sprints to try to get you to where you want to be, but you're not really going to have the skills needed to maintain it long term without trying to keep up with those excessive, protocols. If we want to overcome self-sabotage, we need to first understand it, have awareness around where we're self-sabotaging and how it's actually benefiting us by keeping us sane and comfortable. Like, I'm avoiding the gym, I'm procrastinating the gym because then if I don't go, then I don't have to worry about gym anxiety or gym intimidation or the overwhelmingness of it. Okay, so what can I do? What would be an easy first step? Right? Maybe it's starting with at-home workouts. Maybe it's sticking to shy girl workouts or going with a friend sometimes. You can't rely on them all the time, just saying. But something like that. Okay, so be kind to yourself in the process. And then what I want you guys to do is, once you take inventory of like how you're self-sabotaging and you really get real with yourself on what is the true importance to you, and you break down that importance, your priorities, what is really important to you, what needs to change. I always tell my clients, I know that when you say that you want XYZ, that you visualize yourself and looking a certain way, wearing certain outfits, feeling a certain way. I want you to hold that vision for yourself when you feel like self-sabotaging. I want you to, in the moment where you feel like procrastinating, where you feel like falling into perfectionism or avoiding or escapism, don't beat yourself up for it, but think about, the version of yourself that you desire to become. Hold that vision in your mind, because with every choice we make, we are making a vote for the person that we are becoming and who we want to be in the life we're creating. So where are you settling? And like, that's okay if you are too. Like, shit. Sometimes it'd be like that. Self-sabotage is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I could honestly go into this all day. The more you guys can practice self-awareness and connecting with your intuition and your inner world and gaining awareness around that, the more that you can start to reframe those negative thoughts and move the needle forward and hold that vision. So remember that. Do it for your future self. Do it for the version of yourself a year from now. And if you need help, lean on it. Thanks for listening for today's episode, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.